concern about the health care law with respect to employers is how much more will it cost them to offer health insurance. How it concerns employees is, will my employer keep offering health insurance? Because the law incentivizes employers to put their employees in the government exchange and not offer it through the workplace. And so that dynamic is producing a ton of uncertainty among employers. The last round of uncertainty is debt. What is concerning our economy, what concerns me, is are we going to wind up like Europe? If we copy Europeans' policies, we would surely probably get their results. The point I'm trying to make is, what's happening in Europe is they waited until it was too late. They kept kicking the can down the road, and they never dealt with their debt to the point where their governments are going to default, to the point where their banking system might collapse and it will take their economy down. So now they're in an emergency austerity session after austerity session. What that means is they're planning defaults of Greek debt. They're raising taxes on their populations. They're raising taxes on the economy, which slows it down, makes it harder for younger people to get jobs. They have incredibly high youth unemployment, and they're cutting benefits to current seniors. That's what austerity is. It means you cut benefits to people who've already retired and organized their lives around these programs. You raise taxes on people that make it harder for the economy to grow. And that's what you do once you kick the can down the road, and you can't keep kicking the can down the road. So we had the same kind of uncertainty plaguing our economy. In 2009, the total value of our unfunded liabilities, the promises that the federal government is making to Americans today, in 2009 was $62.9 trillion. This is the GAO, the Government Accountability Office, that puts this number out. In 2010, that number went up to $76.4 trillion. Today, that number is $99.4 trillion. The stack of our empty promises grows by more than $10 trillion every year. To put this in perspective, for the government to keep all of its promises it is making to today's Americans, seniors, workers, and their children, we would have to take $99.4 trillion, come up with it somehow, set it aside, invest in a treasury race, so then we could pay all these benefits. That is the enormity of our challenge. And the more we kick the can down the road and stop getting this debt under control, the sooner we end up with a European situation where we have a debt crisis in our hands, and then we have to impose austerity. Cuts in benefits for current seniors, tax increases that slow our economy. So that is why I feel if I don't like the direction Washington is going, which I very much don't, then it's not enough to simply criticize. I think I feel I owe it to you as my employer to propose alternatives, and that's exactly what we've done. Not only have we proposed alternatives, we've passed alternatives. I wrote a budget and passed it out of the House of Representatives that has spending restraints and reforms of our programs to protect current seniors so they don't have austerity, and to get the debt under control and to literally pay off our debt, to prevent our debt from getting up to that dangerous zone and get it paid off to help our economy. We also included pro-growth tax reform. Get rid of the loopholes, lower everybody's tax rates, so we have a fair, simple, and competitive tax system, so we're not taxing our manufacturers and our employers a lot more than our foreign competitors are taxing theirs, and get Washington out of the business of picking winners and losers in the tax system by getting rid of all the different loopholes that are utilized by the very well-connected, by the very large businesses. Get rid of those loopholes so we can lower everybody's tax rates. Have a regulatory system that's predictable and reasonable so businesses can plan, that's based on sound science and cost benefits. We've passed a number of bills to do that. Patient-centered healthcare reform. Don't put the government in the business of setting price controls on providers and leading to denying care to seniors. And I can get more into that if you want. We also passed a very comprehensive energy policy. Just in the last decade, we have discovered so many more reserves of oil and gas in North America. Because of new technology that's safe to get, we can get so much more oil and gas from our country than we ever thought we could before. So our point is open up those areas, most of which are under federal lands, so we can rely more on American-produced oil and gas, less on foreign-produced oil and gas. It's good for our foreign policy. It creates a lot of jobs here getting the oil and gas, distributing it. It lowers the price of oil and gas, which helps consumers. That is an energy policy that can help us create jobs, lower the cost of oil, and lower our dependence on foreign oil. That's the biggest source of our trade deficit. And strengthen the social safety net. There are many areas, I would say, where the safety net isn't working properly. It's more or less designed for the 20th century, not the 21st century. And so there are a lot of things that we propose to do to get the safety net focused on getting people on their feet. The way I basically describe it is this. We want a safety net to be there for people who cannot help themselves. We also want a safety net to be there to help people when they're down on their luck. If they lose a job, to help them get back on their feet so they get back on a life of self-sufficiency. But we don't want to have a safety net turn into a hammock that lulls people, able-bodied people into lives of dependency and complacency that gives them an incentive not to get out and get on their feet or go back to school and get a career. That, to me, is a critical distinction if we want to get people into lives of independence and self-sufficiency. This is what our budget basically does. I know it's kind of dark, but I'll just tell you, what the economists tell us is once your debt gets above 60% the size of your economy, then you're starting to get in that danger zone. The Europeans basically say, if you're above 60%, you can't even join the European Union. Well, they're all way above that. Once you get to 90% of your economy, that is when your economy starts shutting down. That is when, whatever country you look at, the economy starts slowing down and producing less growth and less jobs. We, right now, are in the middle of those two numbers. What our budget does is it prevents us from getting to that danger zone, and it pays off our debt over time versus the status quo where we're headed. So, basically, I want to leave it at that, but I'll just conclude with this. Two big headwinds hitting our economy. Europe, which obviously there's not a whole lot we can do about that. But Washington, there is a lot we can do about that. Stop the uncertainty that's plaguing hiring, get our debt under control, clean up our tax system, clean up our regulatory system, make it as easy as possible for businesses to grow, to develop, and to hire people. And I'm convinced from just all of my listening sessions, plant tours, round tables with manufacturers, that the policies coming out of the federal government are making it harder for them to plan, invest, and grow and hire. And this is replicating all over the country. The point I'm trying to make is it's not too late to turn this stuff around. We can fix this. We can fix this. We can turn this economy around. We just have to have the right policies to do that. So with that, I see Vanessa and Allison, a good Janesville and Green Bay girl. They're going to be going around, so just raise your hand, and I'll just do a couple people.